Good evening. We are about to start, and at the beginning, short. Some echo there. Okay. So at the beginning, a short technical detail. This discussion is in English, so those of us who watch us online will hear the English translation, but some of us will speak Polish. So please, if you don't understand Polish, use the headphones, use the devices there in the hall, because we have translation here from Polish to English and from English to Polish. So please use this opportunity and the hard labor of our translators. Guys, you are my heroes. Thank you. And we'll start in a minute with our third discussion for today. And for those of us who just joined us, that the discussion without the project Ukraine Unmuted. We are in Lublin, in Galeria Bella, in our art gallery. Our hosts also host the exhibition of Ukrainian contemporary art, Ukrainian cross-section, and actually Ukrainian cross-section will be very much the context of our conversation here today about Ukrainian art mostly, and its representation in Poland, and not only in Poland, maybe worldwide, if we can go that far in on the topic. So these discussions, these three discussions we had today, it's a kind of a follow-up from the Culture Congress we had in Lviv a few weeks ago, and all these talks, all these great meetings with great people here in Lublin is organized by the Institute for Strategy of Culture in Lviv and the Centrum Kультури here in Lublin, and NGO Верменська 35, Верменська 35, also from Lviv, and it's also supported by Lviv City Council, International Renaissance Foundation, again from Ukraine, and Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, Український культурний фонд. So a lot of efforts, and again thank you very much all of you who join us offline and online. The topic of this conversation is, as I said already, the representation of Ukrainian art, and we call it Between Us. The title of the discussion is Between Us. And if I can reflect on that, our previous panel was on solidarity, and I would say that this panel is very much about hopes, and our panelists today have a lot to do with it. And they've been working with Ukrainian art, presenting Ukrainian art, researching Ukrainian art for many years. I absolutely encourage all of you to tell your personal stories, to tell your personal experience, and please don't hesitate to go back in years, because it's a long story, it's a long journey. I would, as in previous panel, I would introduce you before you speak, so not all in once. And Zbigniew Sobczuk is our first speaker. I would very much ask you to begin this conversation and tell you a bit about your work, about your experience, and maybe you can tell also about your experience with Ukrainian cross-section, because again, that's the general context of our talks today.
Dzień dobry, dobry wieczór. Przepraszam, będę mówił po polsku, w tym języku najłatwiej wyraża mi się myśli i opowiada o różnych historiach. I jak to...
stories, both current and past. Let me start with stressing that I represent the Culture Center as the member of the staff of the center. I've been working with Ukrainski Zris for the last 5 editions, and Ukrainski Zris edition 5, Ukraine Unmuted, was first held during the European Capital of Culture in Kaunas. It was also shown in Lviv and finally in Lublin at the Culture Center. And this is very typical of this exhibition and our way of showing Ukrainian art in Poland. These exhibitions tend to travel kilometers, are shown or re-shown or readapted a number of times, and that really makes sense because through this we can reach various audiences, and it's very effective use of public money, both Polish and Ukrainian. And this is something we've been taken very seriously right from the beginning. So, when did it start?
To tak trochę refleksyjne powiedziałbym, że
well, I would say people linked to the Culture Center and many NGOs like Trans Culture Foundation or Vermeńska 35 from Lviv or Zyga Gallery. They are, say, non-institutional entities. Of course, the Center of Culture is an institution, but people who are in charge of showcasing Ukrainian art, Rafał or Maria, they come from a non-institutional setting. And also they can think the grassroots way, they know how to work people to people, and this is how our adventure with the Ukrainian art started. The first event we held was perhaps 2010, but there is also a very exceptional event from 2009 or 8 when Rafał Kozinski, today's director of the Culture Center, he called it NL squared, so L Lublin and L Lviv squared. He held a number of artistic residence for Ukrainian artists in Lublin and the other way around. It was like artists for artists initiative, so they were able to look at how their colleagues work in the other town and vice versa. And that helped us eliminate certain issues, certain problems with recognition. So we were able to learn each other, get to know each other, just make friends and cooperate without any kind of institutional burden behind us. So from this very localized initiatives or cross-border initiatives, it started to grow towards what we called Lublin Ukraine Transmission Project. It was a follow-up of that original dialogue, but at I would say national or state or say country level. So showcasing Polish art in Ukraine and the other way around. So that complementary project of 2010 was the culmination point for that. 150 pieces of art from Lublin and Poland shown in the Palace of Culture in Kiev. It was perhaps the only of a kind exhibition in terms of the size and cross-sectional approach, because the Palace of Culture in Ukraine is not easy to fill, but we managed to fill it back then. And the other part of that complementary event was the first edition of Ukrainian Zris. Well, this title, this name was not there yet, although the title contains what Ukrainian Zris was supposed to be originally. I mean, cross-sectional showcasing of Ukrainian art outside Ukraine. That was the original idea, and it has remained so ever since. Perhaps with the exception of the 2019 edition. And this pre-pandemic, pandemic and wartime made this idea of presenting Ukrainian art outside Ukraine, and I mean not only in Poland, it was a very important initiative for Włodko Kaufman, the mastermind behind Ukrainian Zris. As the curator and the initiator of that initiative, Włodko, for many years, he had great support in his team. Sergei Tetluk, Bogdan Szymowicz. So he is even a co-curator of the current edition of Ukrainian Zris. And me, as a person facilitating the showcase of Ukrainian art in Poland, I had that pleasure of working on the third edition of Ukrainian Zris, створене, during the Wrocław European Capital of Culture program, and that was very important because starting with a very simple exchange, artists for artists, we have gone through many stages up to a fully fledged cooperation, artistic and cultural cooperation, that culminated as a number of major exhibitions of Ukrainian art in Poland, such as the Steps of Europe of 1993, a journey to the East of 2003, and Ukraine Different Looks 2023. So that third edition of Ukrainian Zris was very important for Ukrainian art, because the part devoted to the Ukrainian media art, it was called The Reconstruction. It was set up by two curators, Janina Podejko and Anton Hunik. They are both new media artists, but also
powiedzmy badawczą i naukową.
They do research. Janina Prudenko keeps an open archive of Ukrainian media art, and that was the very foundation for that exhibition. So in Wrocław in 2016, an entire house, 6 levels, was occupied with pieces of art from Ukraine, mostly media artists showing specific problems over time, starting with 1991 up to 2015. It was a very unique undertaking showing that the Ukrainian media art really exists. It grows in a very interesting way, going its own ways compared to Ukrainian culture or art in general. That was perhaps slower in terms of development, and was able to, and unlike in countries where people were free to express themselves and create art, Ukrainian way was different. Since I started to work with Ukrainian art, I have seen how different it is, how specific it is, and this was specifically manifested after Ukraine regained independence. And all that linear pattern of art development suddenly started to go multidimensional and was ready to be showcased, to be demonstrated. And in that sense, Ukrainian art is unique, because if you look at various genres, various directions, approaches, being a reflection also of global trends, at the same time keeping its uniqueness, this is absolutely amazing. And Ukrainian series always makes me experience that with each edition. So this is what Ukrainian series is from my perspective. But, well, of course, you may say it's only a perspective of a facilitator. But, of course, Ukrainian series is made by Ukrainians, that's for sure. Ukrainian people are behind the concept, execution, implementation. What we do is we help them be visible, gain visibility.
And I would also like you to add a few things, because you are, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that you are actually the person who literally put the money on Ukrainian art. As you buy it. So maybe you can tell us a few words about that. So do you believe that that is valuable for the collections you choose it for?
To tak, wiem o tym, że sztuka obrasta legendą.
Well, I know there are legends behind some pieces of art, or art, as we know from critics, from history, that a piece of art is not just a piece in itself, it has a legend behind it. But I never knew that dissemination of art can also be linked to new stories and legends growing. And I think when a Polish curator, starting with a small gallery, sometimes I had to invest my own money to keep it going. And whenever I needed to do something for an exhibition, I didn't even wonder whether there is money for it or not. I was just going and buying. And of course, at the same time, I can say I represent the Lublin Association of Encouragement of Fine Arts. So we used public money to purchase Ukrainian pieces of art, mainly new media pieces from Lviv-based artists, Wodko Kaufman, Serhii Betluk, but of course the public money is behind it. I can assure you, very well spent. And Waldemar Tatarczuk, in his Labyrinth gallery, he also has Ukrainian art. And we also we can't say we can equal the Białystok gallery of Monika Szewczak. They have many more very precious items. But what we can do is we facilitate the presentation of Ukrainian art when it's needed, when audience is needed. Of course, we are not perfect, we are far from ideal, and we have not exhausted the subject, that's for sure.
Preparing the questions for this discussion, and while I was listening to you now, Zbigniew, I actually thought about that we in Ukraine, we have quite a distorted timeline, which is very special. We have this massive event of 1991 when the doors opened, the world opened for us, and Poland used to be much more open to the global world before the Berlin Wall fell. So you knew more, you had more possibilities to learn about the outside world than Ukrainian artists. So Waldemar Tatarczuk, who represents the Galeria Labyrinth, the head of Galeria, and I would also like you to tell about your experience for like 2 decades or even more, dealing with Ukrainian, but maybe with the focus of these changes of artistic forms, with introducing performance art in Ukraine, how you learn about that, how you discover that for
Więc w pewnym sensie rzeczywiście ja już zapomniałem o tym.
Well, in a sense, I forgot about that. You just remind me of that the beginnings of my cooperation with the Ukrainian artist started with performance art in 2006. But at the same time, in the same year, and in this very building, as an employee of the Culture Center, I held the first exhibition with the Ukrainian male and female artists. It was called Territories. And it was ordered, the exhibition was ordered by the municipality of Lublin, by the then right-wing administration of the city. So we had artists from Ukraine, Belarus and Poland. But let me go back to the point. Let's talk about what is going to happen tomorrow. And tomorrow, at our gallery, Labyrinth Gallery, we begin a Kiev Biennale exhibition because this year's Biennale is held largely outside Ukraine. They started with an exhibition in Kiev, but next in Vyshhorod, held by another artist, and one in Ivano-Frankivsk, but another group, then Vienna, which hosts the main Biennale exhibition in Modern Art Museum, and tomorrow we are launching an exhibition at the Labyrinth Gallery. And I must say, it's very special.
Tej wystawy postanowiłem zaprosić.
I invited male and female artists who have joined the army or who are army veterans. Actually, I'm talking about female artists. In fact, I'm in touch with one female artist. You know, Ukrainian army has many female recruits. And what I wanted to do is to show what war is, and not necessarily through the agency of pieces of art or images. I wanted to show war through stories. And I also invited artists from outside Ukraine to show their pieces, people who want to show their solidarity with the Ukrainian artistic fraternity, but also Ukrainians in general, Ukrainians facing the Russian invasion.
To się bierze też jakby to ta współpraca.
And this collaboration with artists from Ukraine and Ukrainian institutions, I think it comes or stems from friendship in the first place. It's, I would say, even more of a partnership than support. When we talk about support, then
to się przełożyło po prostu na pieniądze.
It basically overlaps with money, with funds. So by support we mean raising money for the Ukrainian army and civilians. And last year, when the full-scale military conflict erupted, I lost my job for a few months. I was outside the gallery. I was just a freelancer. I was wondering what to do. That was very uncomfortable because, in a way, I lost my tools of work and I lost ways to cooperate with Ukraine. I didn't have a gallery anymore where this cooperation had been done. But the great thing was that although I was out from the gallery for 8 months, I remained the main driver, the main spiritus movens of that cooperation with Ukraine. But that being aware of the challenges of the new situation made my team, although I wasn't there anymore, made the team get very much involved in supporting refugees who were coming to Lublin fleeing the war. So multitude of initiatives, of activities, and that's not the right moment to discuss it, but that was important for me. I was outside my job, but I saw the gallery, that my team working with and for Ukrainians. And then I thought about the first project I wanted to make. It was called The Sky's Open. And the project started with the thought that Ukrainian artists of both sexes who stay in Ukraine seem to be on the far end of the hierarchy of needs, because the first needs in the country were to support the army, to strengthen the defense, hospitals, children. Those were the needy. And artists, or their needs, were, I would say, secondary or even tertiary. But on the other hand, it was really edifying to see that to see many foreign money came to Ukraine to support Ukrainian artists. For example, Goethe Institute from Germany, and unfortunately, the Polish cultural institutions did not support Ukrainian colleagues that much. And the same with the Polish diplomatic corps in Ukraine. I don't know of any support of Polish diplomacy intended for Ukrainian people of culture.
A te relacje
And these relations between Poland and Ukraine had always been very strong.
Na niemal każdym otwarciu
I
pawilonu
remember that every opening of the Polish pavilion at the Venice Biennale, there were always many curators and artists from Ukraine who were very curious, who were very interested in forging ties with the Polish colleagues. They were interested in modern art establishments in Warsaw, and well, the Warsaw Modern Art Institution has many Ukrainian pieces of art, and the same was with Ukrainian pavilions at Biennales. Whenever there were any Polish artists present, they also visited their Ukrainian colleagues. So in the past, what I did was I followed this support-centered thinking, but now I think I try to depart from it towards partnership, where both parties benefit, because the institution shows great pieces of work of great artists who, I mean, not all of them need support because they are already internationally recognized. So this work you can see here by Żanna Kadyrowa, she's a well-known artist across Europe. She was invited to the main exhibition of the Venice Biennale, and she doesn't need cash, you know. And even it's great that we have this work here, because it was called Palianicja. Pardon my Ukrainian pronunciation. A word that is the very essence of Ukraineness. And if you were not born Ukrainian and you cannot speak Ukrainian, you cannot say it. Can you say the word? Vienna, can you say the word, please? Okay, you used to teach me some Ukrainian pronunciation. And well, she was very critical about my L sound in Ukrainian, but I keep practicing, trying to do my best. Maybe I'll succeed. Maybe I should go to Ukraine more often to practice. But Żanna, the author of these items,
jakieś takie niezłe kilkadziesiąt tysięcy dolarów.
She has sold one of her pieces for several $1,000, and 1 kilogram of this bread costs more than $1,000, and all the money she earns, she donates to the Ukrainian army. Well, if she was a provincial artist, she probably wouldn't be able to sell this at these prices, and in that volumes.
To jeszcze już za długo gadam, nie?
Okay. Is it getting too long?
I would ask Oksana Karpets, who is online with us, about. I would ask you, Oksana, to pick up where you ended up about this cooperation, and mutual mutual benefits, I mean mutual intellectual benefits for Ukrainian and Polish artists, but mostly from Ukrainian side, as Oksana is a curator and art critic from Ukraine. So you, Oksana, also have this optic of a scholar when you look at art, and from Copenhagen, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I know.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would ask you to tell about the Ukrainian side of the story, how Ukrainian artists discovered Poland, Polish art world, and how that changed them and their art.
So first of all, I'm very happy to take part in this discussion and to meet everyone, even online. And I'm thinking about this lineage and about the development of Ukrainian art, not only from the perspective of media, different media art in other mediums than painting or photography, but also about engagement in social and political agenda. So if we compare the 90s in Ukrainian art, we think that art in the 90s was very brutal, was very brave, challenging the norms and being testing the new freedoms. But at the same time, in the 90s, we didn't see this involvement in the social and political life, and we didn't see criticism to stereotypes or to the political agenda. And then we see how the art becoming politicized, how art becoming a part of the political transformation of the country in the Orange Revolution with the group REP and Soska group from Kharkiv, that they are literally becoming part of the protest, part of the challenging and so drastically changing environment, politically and socially. And then we see with the revolution of dignity in 2014 how art, literally how artists are taking part in the revolutionary movement. They are present on Maidan, they are reflecting on what's going on, they're doing performances during the revolution, and they are reflecting on the Небесная Сотня and many other challenging issues. And we see how with the occupation of Crimea and the war in Donbass, how artists as well starting to, like Leah Dostleva and Andriy Dostlev, on the background of you with the licking the war wounds, they are realizing this identity of people from Donbass, how other Ukrainians from other territories see them, and how sometimes they are blind to the wounds that were in Donbass, and leaking this processual process, leaking and healing yourself for the years. How realizing who you are and realizing this trauma, so art is becoming more integrated in what's going on. And I think that the Zris in 2016, this transformation was first reaction to the war, first reaction to this transformation of realizing more deeply your identity and realizing how this colonial project functions for the hundreds of years through the art. So I think in comparison with 90s, Ukrainian art went through the really drastic transformation in terms of being really involved in social and political life of the country. And right now, with Zris, which we see today, Ukraine Unmuted, we see how Ukrainian artist expressions, how they are precisely in understanding the society and ourselves, Ukrainians, like Leah Dosleva, Andrei Doslev, this healing process, like Zhana Kadyrova, realizing that Ukrainian wheat actually feeding the half of the world, and this plenitsa from the sweet is on the table, and so each work probably presented in this edition of Ukrainian Zris is about this statement and attempt to understand who we are, and express to the world and express to the Polish scene. It was shown in Kaunas, trying to communicate, understand by themselves their society from different parts. I wrote a small article to the catalog of the exhibition, and I realized that the works could be probably divided in several topics, in which direction artists try to realize understand the society, what it's going through, and so I was thinking about this endangered living that we all feel in Ukraine, and this solidarity, resistance, solidarity, and healing. I also selected the area where it's mixed and unclear, because it became clear that we are from culturally and thinking in terms of civilization from different parts. We are parts of different civilization, different cultures, Crimean culture, Soviet culture, Austro-Hungarian culture. It's all mixed, and who we are in this all being consistent from all these little parts. And this is also a structural violence, which on the level of the state, that still this post-Soviet machine, it still works on different levels in society, this in education, medical system, and how artists think about liberating this mechanism, which are still very strong in the society and state system. And this is also the earth. Ukrainian earth takes so much attention in this edition of Zris in Ukraine Unmuted. Earth in Volodka Kaufman project, it's all dedicated to earth, and he sees, he combines works of different artists who are presenting earth as a map that always changing with very changeable borders, who eat the earth, who he shows also the film Dovzhenko, for whom the earth was the very key for the understanding Ukrainian identity. So I think this naturally, Alevtina Kahida works with plants and also with the earth. So naturally, it's understanding where we're standing about this really local place under our feet. So I think this development, Zris was going together with the development of Ukrainian art, and moving to this direction of being more and more involved into social and political life of Ukraine.
Oksana, thank you. And maybe just a few words about this choosing of medium. Yeah, how we have relatively short history, this shift from, you know, traditional forms of art to these new techniques, new mediums like you just mentioned, soil and plants and other forms. It happened not that long before. So maybe you can talk a bit about the role actually of Poland and Polish institution in this shift.
Yeah, actually, the shift from the painting and more traditional forms of art happened already in the 90s. Many artists, of painters of Paris Commune, Kharkiv school photographers, and artists who did actions, they turned to video. They turned to, with the opening of Soros Center in Kiev and Odessa, Kiev Soros Center opened a media art lab where many artists were trained how to work with new technologies. It was in 1996, and they experimented with projections and programming and so on. Of course, it's what's strange about the development of new generation of artists who work with media art, like Andrei Sergei Petluk, is that they were more influenced by Polish, especially artists from Lviv. They were more influenced by Polish art scene, because their first experiments in media art happened in Poland, and because of they were on the Gaude Polonia program, and I see that there is not much relation to the previous generation of Ukrainian artists than this influence of Poland and being on Gaude Polonia and having opportunity to try different forms of art, because still artistic academia in Ukraine is very traditional. It's still concentrated on painting and sculpture, wood, and so on, textile. I think that in the 90s, artists already worked with, they were thinking about the space, how to, not only about video and involving new technologies and programming or other things, but they also thought about space, about installations, about how body of the viewer relates to the space and relates to the video and how it's function all together. But these works are very, very unresearched. So I think that also the problem of this continuity and that new generation of Ukrainian artists are influenced more by Polish art than by not all of them. I'm talking about Lviv scene. That Ukrainian art of the 90s, for instance, and these experiments are badly researched.
Thank you, Oksana. You are staying with us online, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Great. So, Żanna, who is sitting next to me, came to us from Krakow. Actually, she's from Ukraine, but spent like 8 years, right, in Krakow. More than 8 years. She's a curator in the International Cultural Center in Krakow. And again, her experience of presenting Ukrainian art to Poland is far more than a few years. I read your text as a co-curator of Ukrainian exhibition, and I felt so much hope in this text, and it was written in 2021. Yes, so it was like a year before the invasion. So how your vision, how your hopes changed since then? Thank you, Oksana, very much. Thank you. Planowałam mówić po polsku, bo umówiliśmy się tutaj na taki deal.
Well, actually, I was planning to speak Polish. First, thank you, organizers, for having me on this discussion, on this panel. Just a few words about my perspective that I believe differs from my colleagues. I represent a cultural institution which has a much broader spectrum of interest, and Ukraine is one of many themes that we cover. Our basic territory of interest, so to say, is Central Europe, and we focus on the cultural heritage of Central Europe, social processes. We have a gallery which hosts 3-4 exhibitions a year. So I'll tell you about our way to Ukrainian art and modern art, which is, again, not a focus of our institution either. And modern art is, I would say, within our research focus. We are more into history, legacy, but through history we look at contemporary times. So we are interested in contemporary times, but the key to these times is history. So I will also kind of shoot back in history. Let's start with 2010. So first I wish to thank and refer to Oksana's opinion and about this emancipation, because it's not only the emancipation of Ukrainian art, but it's also the emancipation in looking at Ukrainian art. So I wanted to share this development that I experienced together with my institution. So in 2010 I come to Krakow, and that year someone mentioned before as the very gloomy, very bad times for Ukraine and Ukrainians who didn't believe in themselves. That's why I decided to leave Ukraine, and we were really fed up with Yanukovych's policy. We didn't hope for better, so I decided to come to Krakow to start working in an international countryside. I wanted to do a Ukrainian project, but it was out of question. Nobody was interested. I mean, I wouldn't say Ukraine was not present as a theme in Poland, but all cultural cooperation, and I'm speaking on behalf of my institution, the whole cooperation starting in 1990s and on was about looking mainly at Poland, researching Poland, especially the post-Soviet times, and we are interested in the Polish heritage in the Polish eastern frontier. So the first Polish-Ukrainian projects were, I would say, within 200-kilometer radius around the border. And in 2014, there was a major political shift in Ukraine, as you know, the Maidan revolution, and in terms of mass media hype, Ukraine became very popular. And then we started an exhibition about Galicia, and we built that around what we called Ukrainian peace. So we started to look at Galicia, at this frontier area, and it coincided with the Ukrainian peace, with the victorious revolution. And back then we managed to show traditional painting by Wlodek Kostyla. He was, well, a Trojan horse who who managed to arouse interest of our audiences. And Wlodko Kostyrko and his view on Galicia, his painting, his vision of Ukraine, of this part of Ukraine, made us really carefully reflect on what is going on there. We thought, well, they have very cool ideas there at the frontier. So 2 years after, we started an exhibition. It was called Ukraine Waiting for a Hero. It was 2016, and we brought Kostyrka together with Kamrawski to Krakow. We produced a catalogue, and that was the first exhibition of contemporary Ukrainian art in an international culture center. Well, on the other hand, very traditional, because their painting is really traditional. I would say even ancient. But that was a great thing for us. And from then on, we kept working on bringing more Ukrainian art from beyond Lviv, because we thought there must be something beyond Lviv in Ukraine, some wonderful things. So that's why we started the exhibition Ukraine Shared Glances. We worked a couple of years on it, plus 2 extra years because of the pandemic. And that exhibition, well, we are very proud of it. I want to thank the great co-curators. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to do it. Oksana Barshanova from the National Museum in Kiev, and Anka Waver, my great friend. And that was a great intellectual journey that we did in Krakow, in the main market square in Krakow. We kicked it off in 2021. And it was really a mixture of the new and the old. The Cossack myth with Sarmatia myth, old art with new art. And it was like a sauce, a mixture that not everybody was able to swallow, really. But there was a lot of ferment around it. And we had a number of objectives behind it. The most important objective was to learn from each other, learn about each other. And I am kind of split. I don't know if I'm speaking my Ukrainian or Polish soul, but, well, our point was to make Ukrainians and Poles get to know each other. Ukrainians were already, in 2021, were already across Poland, working, going to universities, a lot of Ukrainian and Russian in the streets. And Poles started to get used to it. But if you ask an average Pole in the street, what Ukrainian artist can you name? Nothing, just tabula rasa. So we wanted people to just keep some names in mind. Because, well, I think that basically our audiences at that exhibition are not from the world of art. So that was very bold, I think, in introducing modern art, making it closer to the general public. And now many Krakowers, many Poles can tell at least some names of Ukrainian artists. And I can tell you, I don't have enough of this. If I may, I like what you said at the end of your talk. This is about education of Polish audiences, about what Ukrainian art is. We introduce, but at the same time, we make these names really sink in. Artists who are really international artists, but they are not really known in Polish cities. They are sometimes more famous in Italy than in Poland. And of course, for your audience in Krakow, perhaps the Polish names are also strange. Well, indeed, so it's all about education, all about using various tricks, I can say, like juxtaposing national myths, both Polish and Ukrainian, so that a Polish visitor was able to see these analogies. Only then that knowledge can really sink in, can catch attention. We even started with a personification of Ukrainian Poland on the exhibition. Well, I want to thank you. Speaking of education, I want to thank you for this exhibition, for the text by Mikola Grabczuk, who explained to me a number of issues around Ukrainian art and some references to Polish and Ukrainian history. It was a great read, I must tell you.
I think at this point we can give the floor to you for questions if you have some. So maybe we'll need a mic if you have. If not, oh yeah, I see a hand, one hand.
It's not maybe about question, it's maybe some words, especially when you said about personification. I think it's very accurate words because today we speak about subjectivity and persona. It's a word which means about individuals and individual dignity. And when we speak about Ukrainian culture in general, what is Ukrainian culture? What is culture? It's some abstract. So culture in person is about real culture, live culture. So thank you very much for this sum up, summary, yes. Thank you very much.
So, any reflection on that? No reflections? Okay. So, if not, I would address you all the same question. So, and that will be the question about the last year and a half. From Ukrainian perspective, and that's again why we call this project Ukraine Unmuted. We understand that as we have attention of the world these days, we have to show our best, to do our best. And already at this point, my idea that people who were involved, I mean, people from culture, from art world, they already feel, most of them, that, okay, we didn't use this chance properly, maybe we should do more, maybe we didn't make our best. So this kind of guilt and maybe some kind of disappointment is inevitable. It's just I think it's just a human nature. So could you share your perspective about that? How about this year and a half with this relatively intensive presentation of Ukrainian art to the world? So again, as I wrote to you in our email exchange, I don't expect a pep talk from you, but maybe some honest reflection. We are, I think, all on the same page here in this audience.
To może ja od razu, jakby tutaj jest taka dwubiegunowość z jednej strony.
Well, there is some kind of a bipolar scene being set here. I mean, this is a big subject to cover, and we feel like there's a lot to be done, a lot to be said. But on the other hand, about 6 months ago, we got that feedback that people were tired with Ukraine or Ukrainian subjects. When people said, no more Ukraine, enough of Ukraine in culture, in mass media. Of course, the climax for Ukraine was the summer of 2022, and many people just felt certain fatigue. The Polish audiences began to feel certain fatigue, but at the same time, I mean, we have to do what we are supposed to do our way, work on. We are planning a new Ukrainian exhibition with a very similar theme, I mean, getting to know each other. We want to bring Ukraine closer to Poland, to the Polish audience. So our next exhibition will be devoted to Odessa and the art originating in Odessa. It's going to open in May next year. I'm sure it will be interesting. And we're also working on a broader educational offer, including in Ukrainian, because our audiences are no longer only Polish or foreign tourists, but also Ukrainian individuals and families. So this is really a big change in terms of who comes to us. And we can see the change in the perception of art, because now, through our work, we also speak to Ukrainians, and we treat them equally as any other recipient or member of the audience. So we try to make the most of our resources. We have the gallery, we have our heads that we can pull together, so we are going to keep working.
Ostatnie 1,5 roku.
Well, the last year and a half.
To już troszkę wspomniałem o tym, co się...
Well, I already told you about the time when I was not in the position of the director of the gallery. During that time, my team launched the first exhibition on the Soviet legacy in Ukraine and appropriation by Russia of that Ukrainian legacy. We collected comments from Ukrainian artists on that subject, and I don't have to really tell you what it means, what it had been like. I mean, Russia devouring everything that Ukraine produced. I mean, writers, artists, all the Ukrainian output of cultural output, Russia taking over everything that happened in the broader culture of the Soviet Union. There were not only Russians behind it, there were many nations, including Ukrainians. And later on, some more exhibitions followed. Some time ago, the Labyrinth Gallery stopped planning. I mean, we decided to no longer design schedules for the coming year that we used to do usually around November and December. So we just gave it up, and paradoxically, last year and this year we've been able to launch a number of great exhibitions. One of these was I Dreamt of Beasts, done together with a gallery from Dnipro. Ilina Polikarchuk mailed me in September about a concept of an exhibition. She asked me if we want to partner up with them because they had already were looking for a venue, and I said yes. I worked with great curators, Yakovlenko and Chlevak, two ladies from Dnipro. The question was, of course, when? Maybe next year. And I said, why? Let's do it in 2 or 3 months. Because we were able to do it, and there was a need for that.
Zaplanowałem wspólnie z...
We also had an exhibition that I did with an artistic collective open group. We celebrated their anniversary in Białystok, and we decided to have the 10th anniversary of their work in Lublin. So we had been planning a great festival, but the war stopped everything. We changed priorities, we revised the project, and as a result, Open Group showed a work called Repeat After Me. It was done with refugees or displaced persons in Lviv who later made it to Poland. And that work, of course, devoted entirely to war, and that Repeat After Me idea was about repeating the sound made by different armaments, tanks and aircraft. Then another exhibition that came a bit surprisingly. It was done with Izolacja Center in Kiev, a project bringing together Polish and Ukrainian partners. The concept came largely from Ukraine, and one of the curators was Alina Kreitman. She had been looking for ways to work with me before. The project stopped because of the war, so we decided to return to it at some point. We wanted to make it online originally, but then I thought, well, our gallery is free. We have some free room. Let's make something together at our venue. And it was similar with the Kiev Biennale. When I learned that the upcoming edition would be scattered across different venues, I wrote about them and invited them to Lublin. I knew they hadn't planned any exhibition in Poland, only a conference, but they actually agreed. I was a bit anxious about the concept because it wasn't sure who would be invited to showcase their work at the exhibition. So I wasn't even able to close the list of artists on the opening day of the exhibition, and in fact it turned out it had been the very beginning of making the list, because the people were coming in, people I didn't know, and I wanted to have on the exhibition. This is how I learned about Bogdan Sokół or Bogdan Puczak. I never heard about them before. Or Max Robotov, Paweł Kowacz, who has joined the army recently.
nie wiedziałem.
So it was completely new to me.
Jeszcze niedawno brał udział w...
Jurko Bovko now, who was invited to the morning discussion today. So yeah, this is what we are going to do. This exhibition is going to grow, and everybody can be admitted with their work until the very last minute.
Dla mnie ważny projekt.
Another important project, a recent one,
Właśnie takiego support.
which is, say, a support kind of thing. Because when we refer to the archive of Ukrainian art that is being compiled now during the war, Voices from Ukraine it's called, I was wondering how to raise money for Ukraine. So I came up with an idea to invite Ukrainian artists in the project to take photos of Ukrainian sky. And then I spoke to Polish, although I'm going to speak to some more, but to Polish artists to use these photographs as a starting point for different artistic interventions. So all the Polish artists I spoke to, they immediately accepted the invitation. The whole group of very important artists, very, very well-known names, they never hesitated to join the project, and the ultimate works will be sold, will be auctioned to support the Ukrainian artistic community.
She's staying with us online, so I would like to have a few words from you, and then Zbyszek, okay?
I also think that international community is tired about topic of Ukraine, and representation of art from Ukraine was everywhere in Europe this year, even, and last year. And I think that from Ukrainian side, it should be now on new level. If it were a pop-up exhibitions talking about war and aggression and so on, I think that Ukrainian curators and Ukrainian institute who sponsor many shows and many discussions, it should go to a little bit a level of research of some movements becoming more historical, showing Ukrainian art that some lineage maybe, or also important to integrate Ukrainian art to international exhibitions and not only representing Ukrainian art. For instance, this year I created two shows. One was in Balticka галерея штуки сучасне in Słupsk. And it was Polish artists in dialogue with Ukrainian artists, thinking the exhibition title is Human, thinking together about the where we came with the wars and with the nuclear danger and with the ecological disaster, where human stays and who we are today. And I think that this dialogue between Polish and Ukrainian artists, they think very much about the same issues, and Polish artist and Polish art scene is very much sensitive, is the most sensitive scene than any other thing. It's very close to, I think, to Ukrainian situation, and it was the most empathic, and we have to be thankful for that. So I think that this dialogue is more important through the exhibition, sometimes even when it only comes about Ukrainian art. And the other show I curated in Paris, it was artists from Syria, Lebanon, Ukraine, Myanmar, all artists who were going through works and who went through very similar processes. And it was also important to show, it was 8 Ukrainian artists in this show. It was very important to show that the cycles of violence, and that we have to keep together to talk about it. And we have to be as much sensitive for lives in Syria or Palestine as much as to Ukrainians. Life should not be in Ukraine valued less than in Western Europe. So I think that it's very important to unite against violence and against devaluation of life in different areas, and to collect this voice. And Ukrainians should be leaders in this direction. They should talk about their situation in Georgia, situation in different other countries, so that to resist on an international level. And from Ukrainian side, I think that it's important to dedicate efforts and finances to research collection and sponsorship of contemporary art, because we show a lot. There are very great works produced right now in these difficult times, and I think there is still no museum of contemporary art in Ukraine, and the infrastructure, research infrastructure and artistic infrastructure is still very much not sponsored enough, not functioning in a full pace. So I think that we should do with this, so that to represent it better and to communicate it better.
Oksana, thank you very much, and thank you for being with us all this time. Zbigniew, we started to introduce, so the final words will also be yours.
Ja tylko krótko chciałem powiedzieć, że nie prowadzę ani nie reprezentuję żadnej...
Well, for some time I haven't been running or representing any gallery, so I don't have much to do with the staging of new exhibitions, but I'm happy to, when I listen to Waldek, that I live in a city where the next 2 weeks are going to see 2 major exhibitions and showcases of Ukrainian art. And responding to your question, the last year and a half has been all about Ukraine Zriz, Ukrainian Unmuted. In 2022, we kept our fingers crossed for our Ukrainian friends, Lida Vodko, Serhi, and others, to be able to have their exhibition in Kaunas as part of European Capital of Culture 2022, and again we wanted to borrow that exhibition and invite it to Lublin, and we succeeded. So I can say we showcased Ukrainian art before the war, we do it now, and we are going to keep doing it.
For being here, for this discussion, for this great talk. And I thank all of you, and my very special and warm thanks to our hosts, Галерея Бела and Centrum Kultury and Lublin, and all the team, the translators, everyone who helped us today. Thank you very much. Dziękuję.